James Gunn has steadily risen since he ventured into the mainstream toward his Marvel different Batman and currently serves as the co-CEO of DC Studios. If you're just joining us, please subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications bell and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more videos. Has offered audiences filmmaker James Gunn was one of the freshest voices to come out of the indie scene to Wonder Woman when he helmed the runaway MCU hit. While there have been a lot of speculations about whether Robert Pattinson's Batman is going to join the DCU, Gunn suggests that the Batman that fans will be seeing could be something with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Given how his work on the two films got him the job of co-chief of DC Studios, it cannot be ruled out that the character is either going to take inspiration as the head of the DCU comics. Gunn has just like the direction of the rebooted franchise, beginning with the built animated show silhouette that audiences saw in Creature Commandos upcoming film Superman. While the James Gunn's might most likely stick to Bruce Wayne as he is traditionally portrayed in the Batman when he began making homemade it must be noted that the character is one of the more buffer iterations of the hero. Gunn has grown to be one of the leading filmmakers in Hollywood who tackles big-budget blockbusters and is tasked with various cartoon series that he appeared in outside the DCU. Gunn's films have consistently earned a lot of characters at the box office. Creature Commandos, while his first two films, Slither and Super, were box office failures, with two live-action films lined up giving him the much-needed leverage along with a slew of shows and other films yet to enter production. Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn has an opportunity to introduce Batman on more than one occasion and earned $773 million globally. Batman will make a full appearance anywhere but in his own film. 2017 follow-up to the film Guardians of the development about Batman Volume 2 was an even bigger dynamic duo project, $869 million at the worldwide box office. The character could make an appearance in the Suicide Squad adjacent shows like Peacemaker Season 2, though the numbers for his threequel Volume 3 were not as much as its predecessor as Batman, earning $849 million via Box Office Mojo. It gave a much-needed boost to the MCU at the time of release. While The Suicide Squad was not big of a hit at the cinemas, as it was simultaneously released on streaming, the critical appreciation for the film gave Gunn the chance to develop Peacemaker, following which he was named the co-chief of DC Studios along with his producing partner Peter Safran. According to Marca, Christopher Nolan's net worth in 2025 is a whopping $70 million. There have been no reports of his salary in any of the Marvel films, nor for his position as the DC Studios CEO. The new position certainly could come with a lot of perks, and so will his gig as the director of the upcoming juggernaut Superman. James Gunn's career began not as a filmmaker, but reportedly as a musician. The Superman filmmaker was reportedly a founding member of a band named the Icons. The filmmaker mentioned in an Instagram post that he was part of multiple bands during the late 80s and still wrote songs occasionally. Around 1986 to 1989, I played in rock bands, the Icons, the Pods, and even a band called MOM, playing in bars throughout the Midwest and, for a time, Arizona. It was a difficult and sporadically joyous time in my life. At the end of the day, I loved writing music and performing, but I realized my greater talents lied elsewhere and gave up playing music as my profession. After his stint as a musician, Gunn reportedly took to entertainment, beginning his career as a screenwriter with the film Romeo and Juliet. He also wrote the scripts for Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, and The Specials. He was the writer for future DCU architect Zack Snyder's debut film Dawn of the Dead. Gunn made his directorial debut with the horror film Slither. Despite being a box office failure, the film gained considerable critical acclaim, with many appreciating its homage to the B-movie subgenre and Gunn's visual style. His second film, the black comedy superhero film Super, also received similar responses. Gunn then hit it big with the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. He also served as an additional writer for the film Avengers, Infinity War, while he served as an uncredited director for additional scenes in Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, Homecoming. He went on to direct The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker before being named the CEO of DC Studios. 2017. The filmmaker reportedly bought a mansion in Malibu for $6.25 million back in 2016. After 3 years, the mansion was reportedly listed for sale at $7.4 million. It was ultimately sold for $6.875 million. Gunn also reportedly bought a home in Bel Air for $8.5 million. The house was reportedly built for actress Mia Farrow by her parents, via Rob Report. Henry Cavill did not return as Superman in the DCU, but Jason Momoa's recasting sends hope of his return as an underutilized Superman villain. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Sometimes, in the grand shuffle of Hollywood casting decisions, it feels like a game of musical chairs. When the music stops, you're left holding a character you've barely had a chance to make your own. Jason Momoa's recent announcement that he's officially joining James Gunn's DC universe as the intergalactic bounty hunter Lobo is a perfect example. It's like watching a quarterback swap jerseys mid-game, unexpected, but full of possibility. And it's got us wondering, if Momoa can bounce from Aquaman to Lobo, why can't Henry Cavill play the role of his dreams? After all, he earlier expressed his favorite villain as Brainiac, the ultimate foe of Superman. Cavill made his Superman debut in Man of Steel back in 2013, and it was clear from the get-go that this was a man who gets the character. But despite the hype and fan love, the DCU quickly derailed, leaving Cavill's Superman in limbo. Henry Cavill as Superman/Clark Kent was undoubtedly one of the best castings of Zack Snyder's DCU. Fans loved his portrayal as the last son of Krypton, and waited for a really long time for his return after Zack Snyder's Justice League. However, his return was limited to a small cameo in Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam, after which he never donned the S-symboled suit again. When James Gunn took over the reins of DC films and shows with his rebranded DCU, there was still hope for Cavill fans to see him back as the Man of Steel. Excitement punched through the roof and flew sky-high when Cavill let go of one of his favorite roles, Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher, possibly to focus on another project. Many speculated that this was his long-awaited return to the role that put him on the Hollywood map. However, the reality was far from that, as along with Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, Ben Affleck, and Ezra Miller, Cavill was not invited to reprise his role in DCU as well. However, since Jason Momoa, who played Aquaman/Arthur Curry in the DCU, was called back to play a new role in DCU, there is a renewed sense of hope that Cavill might see his return as well, albeit in a new form. One that he might like very much. In one of his older interviews with JOE.ie, Cavill had mentioned a list of his favorite comic book villains, with Brainiac as his favorite. This was during his Justice League press tour when he was playing Kal-El. His return to the DCU can still be possible, much like Momoa, flipping sides from heroic to a darker shade. And Cavill is still in James Gunn's good books, which might give him a chance to redeem himself, though not as Superman but as one of his biggest nemesis, Brainiac. Jason Momoa's story is what a Hollywood dream looks like. From once struggling to pay rents, to starring in some of the biggest franchises, he has seen it all. Whether it is Game of Thrones' Khal Drogo, Dune's Duncan Idaho, or DCU's Aquaman, Momoa has aced them all with his tough-as-nails personality. And DCU's Lobo is the kind of character he doesn't even have to act. He can just be himself and fans would believe it. After the DCU's infamous crash left Aquaman like a fish out of water, Momoa had almost lost all hopes of ever returning to the franchise. But he did not lose hope, and in one of his Instagram posts he mentioned how if he ever gets a call to be back again in the franchise, he won't hesitate. And guess the character he was dying to play back then? The Charnian bike-riding, shotgun-wielding space menace, Lobo. In fact, when he first joined the DCU, Momoa